Hello, welcome back. So, as you've probably seen from the title of this week's video, something a little bit different. Yeah, I've got a really quiet week. I've just got 2 gigs at restaurants that I can't film in. So, in terms of like content for a weekly vlog, it would be pretty non-existent. So, what I thought I'd do is a little Q&A. So, last week, earlier in the week, God, I can't even keep track of time. Yeah, earlier in the week, I asked on my Instagram if anyone had any kind of music related questions that I could answer, just anything like saxophone related, gigging, just anything basically. And yeah, I got a bunch of really cool, interesting questions. And what I've done is I've just saved them without really looking at them. So when I answer them later, I'll kind of like answer as like honestly and as openly without like giving it too much thought, because I think that's like the most authentic way to do it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I thought I'd do that. It's a really nice day as well, so I definitely want to go and try and find a nice spot to do it in. But first I'm going to make an iced coffee, and then yeah, I guess we'll get out and about and answer some questions. So, coffee that I've got today, I'm excited by this. I dialed it in yesterday, it's unreal. It's by Red Bank. Sorry, it's going to be backwards for you guys. Red Bank, it's onwards. It is a Mexican coffee. Dark chocolate, vanilla, apricot. Beautiful. It was really good as a flat white yesterday, so I think it's going to be even better as an iced latte today. So we're going to get that in, and then, yeah, let's go. Here we are then, guys. Look, I've just rocked up in Shrek's Swamp. Look at this. Beautiful. No, it's actually stunning round here. This park's like right next to my house, which is amazing. I never record filming bits like this, like talking to camera outside, so I'm gonna probably be a little bit nervous. We're gonna crack on. Big thanks to everyone that asked some questions on my Instagram. I got some really cool questions from what I can remember, so we're just gonna like dive straight into it, I guess. Oh, first though, little coffee taste test. That's good coffee, that. Can't deny it. First question. Favourite sax player? I think I would want to say like someone from like the kind of bebop era who kind of like defined saxophone, and especially as like an alto player as well. But in saying that, people like Charlie Parker and things like that, I obviously have such a massive respect for like their craft and like what they did. But I don't really like listen to them all that often, so I feel like I say in like favourite saxophone player, I'd need to pick someone that I'm like just like I aspire to be like. If that's the case, then it has to be John Woff. If you don't know John Woff, you do. Saxophone player for the 1975, recorded with Sam Fender, like Hypersonic Missiles was him. He's done like work with Pliny, who's like a progressive like metal Australian guitarist, and he has some incredible solo work as well. The reason I play saxophone is kind of because of John Woff. Like I was still am a huge 1975 fan, and John was just always like, you know, just to have like a pop band that had a saxophone player in, you know, when I was like 13, 14, that was it. Like I was like, oh, I can be in a pop band playing saxophone because like John Woff does. So definitely like he's definitely one of my biggest inspirations. Although yeah, he's predominantly like a tenor player, I just think his tone and his sound is just incredible. A lot of like the session work that I get in will be people saying like, I want a saxophone like in this song by the 1975, or like Sam Fender. John Woff is definitely the guy for me. So yeah, that's the first question, I guess. When you play sax for other artists, for example CJ Pandit, do you write your own part to play, or does that artist write it for you? Is it collaborative? Cool question. Yeah, it's mainly like me writing my parts, but it really depends on like what the artist wants. It's different every single time. With CJ, when we first started working together, he'd already released a track called Wouldn't It Be Cool, and that track already has a saxophone solo in by an amazing saxophone player called Tom Kettleton, who is incredible. So yeah, when I started playing with CJ for the live shows and things like that, I learned Tom's solo. Yes, I played that one live, but then when we recorded the album back together in January, like a lot of that was just kind of like CJ saying like, do your thing, go for it. So like the music that you'll probably hear like throughout the rest of the year as the album gets released and when eventually the album comes out is all my writing in terms of sax parts. It's obviously collaborative as well. Like everything I would have run past CJ. He's like really good at just being like, oh, I like that idea at the end. Can you change that a little bit? That's like my favourite type of person to work with because it just really means that they've got like a strong idea of what they want. Yeah, that's kind of it for like CJ. But it's different with every artist. Like I did a session the other week and the vocalist had sent me like demos of them singing parts and was like, I'd love it if you could play this, which is cool. And then I get other sessions as well where it's just like, I want to solo like Too Shy by the 1975 on this track, can you do that? And there's no ideas or anything like that, it's just they've got like a sound in mind and then I'll write the part for that. So that's the answer to that one. Is this going well? Is this shit? Hope not. I'm having a nice time. What is your pre-gig routine? To pre-gig routine, I'm not really sure if I have one. I'd say the only thing is like I definitely like hate being rushed to like get on stage or to start performing. You know, sometimes it can happen like if sound check's not going well, if there's tech issues and we're like really pushing it and then it's literally like you sound check and then you go. I like just to have that little bit of time just to kind of like relax beforehand. I don't have like a certain like routine that I like doing. I just like to have at least half an hour, even like 20 minutes before the actual set. It's not like I'll like really badly mess up if I don't have that. It's just like a personal preference thing. And in terms of actually warming up and stuff on the saxophone, I mean in a perfect world, yeah, I'd have like my sax with me and I'd do like some like big warm-ups, but I'll use sound check to like really make sure I'm feeling good, the sax is feeling good, everything's kind of there, and then you just got to kind of hope that nothing really changes between sound check and stage time for anything to like start going wrong. But I have had it before where like I felt really good in sound check and it's been sounding incredible, and then I don't know why, like getting on stage is just a different, I just feel different in my playing and it kind of like throws me off a little bit, but that's quite rare and it's just one of them things that happens and you deal with it. That's the only kind of like pre-gig routine, is a good amount of time to warm up if possible and just a little bit of time before the show to relax and almost like take your mind off the show so you can come on and enjoy it. How do you wind down after a gig / tour? To be honest, the most consecutive run of dates I've ever done on a tour is like 4. So like I've never really done like an intense run of shows to like wind down afterwards. In terms of just winding down after a gig, normally I'm driving 2-3 hours, so I get a really good chance to wind down there. And to be honest, winding down when you're driving is not actually great because that's when you start getting a bit sleepy behind the wheel. Like winding down, yeah, I pretty much like pack up, get in my car and head. This is more in terms of like functions. In terms of like original kind of gigs, winding down depends where we are. Like if I had a show in Manchester, I'd like stick around for a drink or so afterwards and just kind of chat. What I've kind of found is like a lot of people get really critical after a show. I used to be really guilty of this as well, and I think it's a good thing to have, of like, how can we make it better, how can we improve it, what went wrong, you know, leave that till the next day. After you finish a show, you know, speak to people that were there, try and do some like casual like networking, I guess you could call it, but don't really think of it as networking. Just like meet the people who were there, meet the people who supported you, find the positives from it first. I think a lot of people, and it's just natural as performers and creatives, you want to just dive in talking about what could be better and where it went wrong and things like that, which is so fair. Like I said, yeah, I used to be super guilty of it. Even if like one tiny thing went wrong in a show, I'd come away from it, oh, like fuck, I messed that up and this needs to be better, and why did that happen? It's just such a negative thing to have, and you'll find that like not only will you stop enjoying it as much, but the people that you're playing with will definitely not really want to play with you as much anymore because you're sort of like a vibe kill. So yeah, I think to like kind of unwind after a show, I'd probably just like hang around for a beer or two, speak to the people that were there, actually like have some time with the band, socialise. I think that's another thing as well. For example, like I'm gigging a lot with CJ obviously at the moment. I love the boys in that band, but because we're kind of spread all over the country, we never really actually like socialise. We rehearse together, we write music together, we record together, we gig together, but there's no actual like social aspect there. Like we never just like meet up for a drink, which is such a shame. So like when we did that album session like back in Jan, it was so lovely to have dinner together. So we'd do a massive day of recording and then like have like a family meal together and just have such a laugh, and just like you just look at each other, like this is me anyway, I just look at them boys like, oh, they're actually so great. It's so nice to have that. So it's important, I think, after shows if you can, I'd always try and make sure I've got time to like hang out with the guys. And yeah, because you know, it's like a family. It's such a family dynamic, and that's how it feels. So yeah, I think to unwind, that's it. Probably like chill with the band after the show, and then on more like function gigs, it's always just kind of like get in the car, put a podcast on, put some like more like chilled tunes on, and just hope that you don't fall asleep behind the wheel. Do you feel like there's competition between yourself and other musicians you know? That's a really good question. Obviously, do I feel like there's a competition between myself and other musicians that I know? I definitely don't feel like there's competition now. Yeah, this is a really good question. I've struggled with stuff like this for a long time, since being in like uni. I obviously went to uni to study music, and I was lucky enough to be in the year that I went, like my whole student accommodation was musicians. Like we all went to the music uni. So everyone was like a musician, a producer, or in business or something like that. Maybe I'm just looking back at it through rose-tinted glasses, but I generally don't think I am. I think if you asked anyone in my year group, everyone felt so supportive. It was a really good community of people, and I think it doesn't get talked about enough, but the music scene in Leeds, like the DIY kind of like grassroots music scene in Leeds, is one of the best in the country, and it just doesn't really seem to get its flowers. I just think some of the talent that city produces is unbelievable. Obviously, like I think people see it more as like a stepping stone, but you've got to remember like what gave the platform to these artists that are like now doing incredibly well. Like, okay, yeah, they may move down to London, and then when they make the move to London, the career can like kind of skyrocket. But what gave them the skills that they like now have was Leeds. So back then I definitely didn't see any competition. It was very much like everyone went to everyone's gigs. Everyone was just like, that's great if you get that opportunity. But naturally with things, as you know, felt like we're all kind of starting out from the same place. What I will say is that when things did start to like change for people was obviously, say there's two indie bands and they both write great music, very kind of similar audiences and crowds, but for some reason Radio 1 picks up one of the bands and starts pushing their music. Next thing, they're getting on festival slots, they're getting on support tours, they're selling out bigger headline shows. If you're in that other band, you can't help but look and go, why not us? Why wasn't that us? And I think for me, definitely when I was in uni and just after uni, I definitely developed an ego problem. And not in a case of like, how do I say this? Not in a sense of like, I thought I was better than anyone, because by no means I did. I've always struggled with thinking I'm not good enough. I still do to this day. Sometimes when I get offered these gigs and offered these shows and sessions, I'm get massive imposter syndrome of like, I'm not good enough to do it. But what I will say is that back kind of when I was like finishing uni, I think I was mistaking success with fulfillment. So I thought the more successful I was, the more fulfilled I would feel. This is after I've done like, you know, I'm 27 now, so I've done a lot of like self-reflection of what's important in life. But back then, as like a, you know, 21, 22-year-old, basically, I'll give you a scenario, it's probably the best way to explain it. So I was in my third year and my best mate Dougie had graduated the year before me, so he'd been out and about in the real world for a year, and this was kind of like 2021, so it was like post-COVID, so we were kind of coming out of lockdowns and things like that. I was really burnt out in third year. The kind of forced creativity was like taking a lot out of me. Wasn't enjoying playing music. I wasn't really in any projects that were doing things. Like me and Dougie used to play in a band together called Alleyways. That had kind of stopped because there was just no momentum behind it anymore. Dougie's my best mate, like literally like a brother, and Dougie came into my room one day and I was like finishing a project, and he was like, Stu, I've just got offered a European tour with this artist to like play guitar and do backing vocals. And I remember just feeling like anger towards him. I just remember like looking at him like, all right. And it pisses me off so much that I was like that, because what a disgusting thing to happen of like your best friend who you like love and treasure has come to you first with this news that they're like buzzing about, and all you can think is like, oh, you've got this opportunity and I haven't. Like, that's not fair. And I still like really like wind myself up thinking about it now. Good on him for getting that gig. There's a balance between being jealous and being, what would the word be? Like, for example, like in these days now, a lot of the people that I know that are still doing music that do really, really well, I look at them and I think, great, like they deserve it. They're just so talented, and I'm glad they're getting the recognition they deserve in these opportunities. Obviously I look at them and go, that's what I want. A perfect example is like, I've mentioned it on the channel before, but a good friend of mine, Matty Robbo, like Matt Robinson, incredible trumpet player, is just absolutely like killing it at the moment. Like, he played at the Brits, he's played on tour with Robbie Williams. I look at the gigs that Matty is doing and think like, I want to be doing that. But there is generally no part of me now that think is like an ego, like envy kind of thing. I just look at it like, that's so great to see that someone that I've been in the same circles as is doing these things. I use it now as like a driving force to be like, if I just keep going, if I just keep practicing, if I just keep doing as much stuff as I can, maybe one day I'll get there. And changing success from fulfillment is such an important thing. I am very lucky that I have an incredible support network of a partner, family and friends that I like treasure more than anything. Music is a love and a passion. It means nothing to me without them people there, and I just think that is fulfillment. It's like having a group of people around you that you like will make memories with. Now I see music as a thing of like, wouldn't that be cool to get these opportunities, when I used to think of it as like, I'll only enjoy my life which is so mad to think. I'll only enjoy life if I get these big crazy opportunities. The way I think about stuff these days is like a million times healthier than what I used to. I used to really get in some pretty bad places mentally about success and what it looked like and things like that. But I think that's what growing up is. I think that's what maturing actually is in like your 20s and things like that. That's for learning. So no, I don't feel competition. Sorry, that was fucking such a long answer. Just kind of nattering away. I don't feel competition between musicians. I think it's so important to keep motivating each other, trying to give yourself and other people as many opportunities as you can. Worst and best gig memory. Should I start with the good, start with the bad? Which one? I mean, there's probably better ones that I can, if I really thought about it, but there's two that have just came to mind instantly. I'll start with the good. Best gig memory for me in like recent times. The first one, I'll just say the first one that came to my head because that's probably best. Last year I got to play a festival called We Out Here, which is a festival run by Giles Peterson, and it's like a kind of like world music festival, but it has incredible bands, artists, and like just a bonkers DJ lineup as well. And Giles always manages to just get these artists that play like no other festival, and he'll always somehow manage to like bag them to headline his festival, and it's just incredible. And I played it, well, probably about 4 years ago with an artist called Misha Sefia, who I haven't actually really mentioned on this channel yet because Misha is like currently writing some new music. The reason I am kind of doing this job the way I'm doing it is from working with Misha. She's an absolute incredible vocalist and just an unbelievable human being and does some incredible work. She works for a charity called Black Lives in Music, and they do just like unbelievable work. I'll link their charity in the description below, and yeah, you should definitely go and check out the things that they do because it's amazing, and Misha's such a great advocate for them. And obviously alongside that, incredible vocalist and performer and songwriter. And yeah, I've worked with her for like 4 years now, but she's just in the process of like writing new music, so that's why you haven't really seen her on the channel yet. But I'm hoping at some point this year we'll get a Misha gig in. But yeah, I played the festival with her about probably 4 or 5 years ago now, and it was incredible. We played with like a big, I think it was like a 10-piece band, and it was the uni that we went to kind of put us on and like sponsor for a stage. We got the opportunity to do it through them, and that was amazing. But I never really like heard of the festival back then. We were on it like Sunday, 1 o'clock, Sunday afternoon. And I was like, the festivals that I'd been to, I was like, no one's going to be there, no one cares. Like, you know, Misha hadn't even released any music at this point, so it was like, why would anyone come and see us? Like, I wasn't being negative about it, but I generally just thought we were going to like rock up to this tiny little stage, play to no one, and it was back in Cambridge, I think was the old site, so it was just kind of like a long Sunday. And yeah, we like rocked up. It was sweltering hot outside, which I think helped, but we were in this stage called the Big Top, which is one of their smaller stages, but it's still a very fair size. And we were like opening that stage on the Sunday, and people had kind of come in to get some like shade from the sun, and I thought, we're going to start playing and they'll probably be like, oh, not for me, like walk off. The crowd that we pulled at that festival, like, again, I might be looking back with like rose-tinted glasses, like it was like rammed. I'm not saying it was like full the tent, but it was like really busy. Everyone was just like so sick. Like, obviously no music was out, so obviously no one knew any songs, but people were like dancing. The third time round the chorus they'd start joining in, and we did this. Misha's got a beautiful tune called Walking Wonder, which is like a spoken word piece, which she's always a bit skeptical about doing because she's worried about it kind of like not killing the vibe, but obviously the energy will drop really low, and it's a very intimate song, very powerful tune, and she's always kind of worried about doing it. She did it and the audience was like silent, focused in on her, and it was just, yeah, it was incredible. So that is definitely like an amazing gig memory. And just to kind of on that, we then, like I kind of said, we played it again with Misha last year with a reduced band this time, where I was playing sax and guitar. My partner Ella and her friends have been going to this festival for almost since it started, like 6 years ago. Been going every year, and obviously like when me and Ella like got together and I like met her friends and became friends with her friends and things like that, like they would always talk about like We Out Here was like one of like the highlights of the summer that they do together. So like the year before I'd went as just like a festival goer with all of that, and it was incredible. And then yeah, to get the opportunity to like play it again last year and just have like Ella and like all our friends like come and watch it and just like support us, it's amazing. Like you can't beat that kind of feeling. I love Misha's music, I love Misha as a person, she's incredible, and she's killing it at the moment with what she's doing, and I'm really excited for like her to bring out some more music because she deserves everything that she's got coming her way, because she's such a talent. Worst gig memory. I should have maybe started on the worst and then felt good. I'm very lucky that I don't really have any proper stinkers, but the one that comes to mind, I was doing a function, like a duo gig with Cal, who I'm recording that EP with, that has been on the channel before. This is like 2 or 3 years ago now, and we were doing a duo gig in Harrogate, and it was during like the heat wave, or it was like the hottest day ever recorded in the UK, where it was getting up to like 40 degrees, or I can't even remember what it was, but it was like hot. And we were playing outside, of course, and we were playing under this tiny little umbrella that was the shade zone. Insanely hot, and I hadn't really prepped too much for the gig. I got it quite last minute, and I had charts and stuff, and luckily like Cal is unbelievable, so he's kind of like shredding away on guitar. And I still remember now, we were playing Friend Like Me from the Jungle Book, that tune, and I was just absolutely fluffing it completely, like playing it, even you wouldn't even recognise the tune. Cal was like trying to drive it, and I was just absolutely messing it up. Got really in my head and was just like, oh my god, this is shit. People are like standing and watching. Then the umbrella thing that we were playing under fell and hit us on the head because they hadn't secured it properly at the bottom. So then we were like trying to put it back up. Then as we were trying to put it back up, a woman came up to me and was like, do you play birthday parties? And I was like, oh, like, yeah. And I was like giving her like links to like an agency website. And she was like, well, can't I just contact you directly? And I literally remember being like, no. And she was like, oh, and I feel bad now, but I was just not in a good way. Basically, I was having a massive panic attack. The mixture of like the heat, me messing up, this fucking umbrella thing, just all eventually got to me. And yeah, so we like ended that set, and I just like sat on the floor, and Carl was like, are you good, dude? And I was like, yeah, and just was like gone. Yeah. So that's probably my worst gig memory. Yeah, not a fun one. Really not a fun one, that. What made you start playing the saxophone? So yeah, my first instrument was actually flute, which I think I've mentioned on this channel, and I hated it. I really didn't enjoy playing flute, but just like, didn't quit. Just, my mum was always just like, keep playing flute and then you can get a saxophone. I don't know why, but yeah, that was like a thing. And yeah, so I started playing saxophone in like year 8 or year 9, I think. But I'll be honest, like I really wanted to play guitar, and that was like the thing. So it was almost like saxophone was like my serious instrument and guitar was like my fun instrument. I'm very kind of glad I did have that now, because it's really cool now that I get to play sax and guitar for some artists, and I can like offer to play guitar for people for live shows. But yeah, sax was always more of like I felt like quite a serious thing. It was almost like an academic instrument, and it wasn't until I got to probably until I got to uni to study it that I actually like really fell in love with it and was like, fuck me, this instrument's incredible and it's so versatile, and like really started like getting into, you know, different players and discovering like what I could actually do with it. I obviously, like I said, I was obsessed with 1975 and John Watt. It's definitely a kid with no clear direction of what I wanted to do, which is so fair, because you're a child, but yeah, I'm glad it worked out the way that it did. When did you realise you wanted to pursue a career in music? Yeah, like I said there, probably not until university, which is just bonkers, isn't it? Like, but then to be fair, I think it's mad decisions you kind of have to make before you're 18. It sounds like I've chosen to do it before I've gone to uni, because if I've gone to uni to study music, I'd obviously want a career in music, but I really kind of feel like I went to music uni because I still had no idea what I wanted to do. So at the thought of going and studying geography or something like that, I just wouldn't have done it, because there would have been no enjoyment there. I was like, oh, at least if I go to like music uni, I'll enjoy it. And then as soon as I got a taste for like performing live, because like where I'm from, I used to do like little pub gigs like here and there, but there's not a music scene. Sorry if there is Teesside, but I can't really think of a music scene in Teesside apart from like kind of like pub gigs and things like that. So like when I first moved to uni, I remember like joining a band 3 weeks in and being in a horn section in like a kind of funk rock kind of group, which was amazing, by the way. Actually, I'll insert a clip. This is what one of my first gigs was like in uni. Watch this. So yeah, after that, I was just like, I want to do that every single day of my life, like 100%. And yeah, I've been chasing that high ever since. No, but seriously, like, yeah, joining that band and being involved in a scene, like the lead scene and that, I was just like, oh, how can I possibly ever move on and do anything else? And, you know, naturally, like, it was a really, like, busy scene back then, but as we got older, people started moving on to, like, teaching or working more in the industry as, like, a rep or lighting or sound or production, that kind of thing. Because, you know, you have to pay bills, you have to eat, so people kind of moved on to that. But for me, it was like, that's why functions just made sense, because I love performing live so much. I can get paid to do it every weekend. And yeah, okay, it's doing like covers and things like that, but like people I've played with and the people that I've met through doing it is unbelievable. Like, obviously I've met some of my closest mates doing it, but like the talent that some of these people that do these functions is just like mind-blowing. And not only do they like do functions, but they're also like incredible artists in their own right, maybe doing their own music, maybe doing session work. So yeah, that's why I pursue music as a career. Sorry, I got a bit aggressive there at the end. Dream gig. I like that question. Simple, 2 words, 2-worded question with so many answers. Yeah, look, the reason kind of like started really kind of going for it in terms of like wanting to be a session musician was I wanted to join a horn section for like a big pop artist. I don't really have a specific artist in mind. Obviously, if you think of scale and what's working these days and stuff, I think Olivia Dean would probably be like the dream gig. Love her music, love her vibe, the band's incredible, she's got a horn section, like I'd love to play in Olivia Dean's horn section. That's kind of it. But I'd play for like anyone really in that kind of vibe. And then the one that kind of comes to mind, which might seem so basic maybe, but it just seems like such a cool kind of like accolade to have, would be Pyramid Stage at Glastonbury. Not even like necessarily like headlining it, just to kind of say like I've done it. I've played Pyramid Stage at Glastonbury. I don't know why. That's just one that comes to mind. But yeah, I love the gigs that I do now, like playing with CJ. I just hope that his music gets the recognition it deserves and we can ride that and just see where that takes us, because I really do. Obviously, I love playing in horn sections and stuff, but getting to play sax and guitar is just so much fun. Like the fact that I am actually like playing guitar on stage for people just feels like such a scam, because I play guitar for fun, honestly, and to get to like play it for some pretty wicked artists is amazing. So yeah, any like Misha or CJ or someone like that I get to do sax and guitar for is always like, yeah, the dream gig would be for them to get on bigger and bigger stages and bigger festival slots and things like that, because it would be really cool to have been there from the start and have seen the progression. But also at the same time as well, yeah, just getting asked to like jump on for someone like Olivia Dean. I keep going back to Olivia Dean, which is funny. Yeah, going back to something like that would be amazing. Alright, so we've come to the last question. Why start a YouTube? I don't know if this was maybe asked in a bit of like a, why are you doing this? No, I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it was a nice way of like, why did you start YouTube? I started a YouTube because, I don't know, there was a small part of me that wanted to do it. So I kind of just thought, why not? And I'm super grateful that I have, because I am really enjoying doing it. It's making me want to be busier. It's making me appreciate all the work that I'm getting, and I'm having a lot of fun learning and doing it. I started it because I wanted a little video diary of my life, and the weekly vlogs was definitely the best way to do that. I'm very bad at self-reflection in a sense of like achievement. I might get in my own head that I'm not getting anywhere. But if I like look back on what I've actually done in a small space of time, it's actually like, oh wow, you are progressing. I think what can happen is, say if I've got like a quiet, might even be like a quiet 2-month period, maybe no session work comes in for a month or two, I can get really in my head and think, that's it, I'm just not going to be successful. And then literally like a week later, 3 or 4 people could reach out and say, oh, I actually wanted sax on this, can you do that, can you do this gig? And it's like, oh no, I am stepping it up a bit. Because if I even look back to where I was a year ago, the difference in the shows that I'm doing, my confidence as a player is just night and day. And I'm sure 2 years ago, I can barely even remember, but I'm sure 2 years ago it was even more like, who was I back then? Do you know what I mean? So I think the YouTube was just a nice way to kind of start seeing that growth and progression in real time. And another reason for it was because I really enjoy being creative, and I really like my job in a sense. Obviously I love playing music, but I like how different it is. I like how no 2 weeks are the same. And I thought, if I could like somehow start making YouTube or being a creator a little bit more of like a job as well, how cool would that be as like a thing? Like I could just really dive in on concentrating on doing music, and if the documenting it part of it became a source of income, would just be really cool. That might never happen, or it might not happen for a long time, but I just think YouTube was just the best way for me to be creative, have a bit of accountability on my creativeness, document my life, use it as like a progress tracker of what I'm doing in music, develop skills as well. I'm getting so much better at using like things like Final Cut, understanding like media, understanding like social platforms and things like that so much better, what works, what doesn't work through doing this. You know, I probably can't gig forever, so developing other skills is quite important for eventually when, I don't know, I run out of puff playing the saxophone or something. So yeah, I'd probably say that's why I started. I just kind of think like, if you've got a little urge to do something, especially in like the kind of like creative sense, just do it. Like, why not? Honestly, I wish I started it 2 years ago now, but I didn't, and I've started it now and I'm really enjoying it. And on that note, if you're really enjoying it, it would be amazing if you could subscribe to the channel. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there for this week. Bit of a different video. I hope it's been okay. And yeah, thanks for checking it out. Next week, I've got a really fucking cool gig. I'm super excited for it. So yeah, definitely tune back in for that. But until then, thanks guys. See ya.